Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate that. And as you know, we recently connected through Blue Sky to just kind of know what is going on in science world. And you're familiar with the recent exodus from Twitter or X or Facebook that a lot of people are leaving and joining Blue Sky and Mastodon and other social media platforms where they see a lot of communities moving, especially scientific community around the world,
Mhm.
which is a great thing. I'm a big advocate for like yes, there is a competition, but yes, we deserve platforms which are less toxic, less full with hate, and their model is different than what we have seen from the world poorest guy, Elon Musk. But please introduce yourself, what you do, and what your research is about.
Wonderful. Yeah. So my name is Colette Dallawala. I have a master's in quantitative psychology and a master's in clinical psychology. I'm a third year PhD candidate at Emory University. I study clinical psychology. So that is, we have the research arm and the clinical arm, and it's a dual training model. So I'm an addiction scientist. So I'm very interested in studying addiction. Right now, I'm translating a model of compulsive alcohol use from the preclinical literature, mostly in mice and rats, to something that can really functionally be conceptualized and used to assess compulsive alcohol use and compulsive other drug use in humans. And so that's my dissertation work. And, more long term, I'm interested in understanding the transition from impulsive to compulsive substance use and how that plays out across time. We're also doing some really cool computational work looking at how how decision making changes across that shift, as well as looking at SNP heritability enrichment from model organisms. But right now, we're looking at it in mice and how like OCD-like behaviors and compulsive-like behaviors in mice enriched SNP heritability in humans with alcohol use disorders. So really taking a broad and very, I think, um, very interdisciplinary approach to asking this question. And it's fun work. And I just have like such a cool group of collaborators at Emory and, other surrounding universities. So yeah, that's my passion.
Yeah, that makes things easier when you have interdisciplinary approach and you have people around you who are like really cool people to work, and that increase
Definitely.
your productivity and you look forward to to work.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yes, so Stand Up for Science March is coming up in next month, right? March
Yeah.
7th in Washington D.C., just 2 hours from me.
Mhm.
I'm here in Virginia, Harrisonburg. We are like literally 2 hours from the White House.
Amazing. I hope I see you in March.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Tell us a little bit, how did you get involved in Stand Up for Science March, and tell us, readers, about, or the audience, a little bit about the history, because I know there was in 2017 uh,
Yeah.
one in March, well, April, right? April
Yeah,
2017
it
in
was the Earth
DC.
Day. Yeah, so we're actually not like formally associated with the March for Science group from 2017, but we have been in contact with a lot of their leadership, and their leadership has been so supportive to us and really helped like guide us in this way. So yeah, the Stand Up for Science protest was my brainchild, and as it felt like the minute that Trump got into, he was inaugurated and just like started signing these executive orders, it really felt like a bomb went off. And all of, these orders just kept rolling down. And I mean, you're just seeing really scary stuff, honestly, like scary stuff. Especially as somebody who like research addiction, like this is something that affects everybody, and it's really important to study in every population. It's important for lots of diverse scientists to be studying this problem. And so, really just made me very angry, and I felt really helpless. And I mean, I was trying to like reach out to my my network. I was trying to reach out on Blue Sky, like, hey, what are we doing? Like, where are we getting together? If you tell me when, I will get on a plane and I will be there. Like, pick a city, I am coming. It felt so important that we like unite and make a physical, like have a physical presence alongside all of these other, efforts that we're all calling our
Yep.
representatives, we're all signing petitions. But like on top of that, I think there really needs to be this physical presence. And I just was not seeing that. And I kind of, I mean, pardon my French, but I really just said like, fuck it, I guess I'm gonna
Yeah.
do it. And I had this like really I mean, it was just, I don't know how to describe the moment, except for that I was sitting there and I was like, do you really believe that you can be the change? Like, do you really, like, I was like this
Yeah.
mirror moment, right? Do you really believe that you get to be the change in the world? Like, do you really think that you can make a difference? Because it was just staring me right in the face. Like, I have this opportunity to see if I can pull people together and unite people for science. And so I said, all right, well, I guess we're going to do it. And I posted the post
Yeah.
on Blue Sky and really just like took off.
Yeah. I saw that.
It really took off. I immediately had people in my DMs like, can I help you? I've been waiting for this. Like, what do you need? And that was really how I sort of collected my like core, we call it our core leadership team. And there are four additional organizers who are, co-leading this with me. And it's JP Flores, Sam Goldstein, Leslie Bernstein, and Emma, who we're from all over the place. Four of us are grad students, one's a PhD, and we're all, early career. Um, and I mean, it's just been kind of incredible to like try to pull this thing together. And
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm so impressed with everyone and how capable they are. And yeah, I mean, I can't believe that it's taken off the way it has taken off.
Yes, I've been seeing that, and I was like, I've been on the Blue Sky. I'm pretty well connected with many climate scientists, public health folks, and some other researchers and institutions and journalists. And I was like, I don't think I have seen this stand up for a science march. And all of a sudden, it was showing on my feed on Blue Sky. And I was like, that's really cool thing to see and to do because there is a lot of scariness. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are like just 2 hours away from DC. We feel it. We feel it like okay, things are happening in real time. And when
Yeah.
like on the very first day, president signed like 140 executive orders or
I
something.
know. It felt
Uh,
like a bomb went off.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So it's so incredibly important work around science, and we have seen how NIH funding, NSF funding, and today when we're talking about it's February 13, and I think our new HHS secretary got confirmed. People were thinking, if this happened, then we will see. That's their, kind
The
of red line.
threshold.
But those red lines have been crossed many times. We have seen with these confirmations. So just a little bit about the idea about like getting together, marching for science, telling the story. Hey, science is important. It affects everyone. It's just not us who are doing the work. It's kind of translate to everybody. So you talked a little bit about the who are the main organizer. Yes, you're working a little bit with 2017 people. So who are the major partners? Who else is working with you guys?
Yeah, we have a army of volunteers from all over the country in all different areas of science. Like I have a paleontologist, I have archaeologists, I have political scientists, I have, psychologists, psychiatrists, like we've got MDs. I mean, just like biologists. I mean, if it ends in an ist, like we've got them on our team. We are still like real like I mean it's Thursday and I put this on Blue Sky on Saturday. So we're still really working through the process of officially partnering with different organizations. We actually have a team on the ground at AAAS right now, who they're really working through. We've been connected with APA, we've talked with APS, we've talked with FABS, we've talked with AAAS, and I think that everybody is kind of just like trying to get organized and figure out, number one, like is our situation legit? Like we really did just sort of pop out of nowhere, and I think that that is a completely understandable, and like I appreciate that organizations are taking like this, cautionary approach. Like that's totally fine with me. Like do your homework.
Yeah.
So we don't have any official partnerships yet. Like we're just a coalition of scientists, trying to get this thing off the ground. So yeah, stay tuned. I hope we get
Yeah.
some backup. I would
Yeah,
love.
yeah, absolutely. Because I was mentioning to you on Blue Sky that I think a National Science Policy Network, it's also very
Yeah.
active in DC and
Mhm.
SPN, and I have attended many of their gatherings, and they're like mostly people from Johns Hopkins, Penn State,
Sure.
in the
Yeah.
DC area, 3 to 4 hours, kind of drive area. And they're very active in policy and in science and those areas, and they do organize things. And I think they recently have executive director. I will be interviewing her in March as well.
Oh.
So yeah, that would be another organization. So for March,
Mhm.
as a month of March, and it happened during the first Trump presidency, and it's happening again in the second term presidency, and hopefully the last one. We don't know yet. So why now, and why it is important to you, if you would like to comment on that? Why is the best time to stand up
Yeah.
for science?
Well, I think that the organizers for the March for Science in 2017 really had the foresight and understanding, like, oh, this is going to be really bad. And I think that everybody kind of had this, like, collective understanding of, we don't know how this is going to be bad, but
Mhm.
we know that what the direction that we're heading in right now is not a good one, for science and for, just progress in our country. And so I so deeply appreciate that about the organizers of the March for Science in 2017. Like they had such foresight and understanding that and really being that rallying cry and frankly built the foundation for us to even have any sort of movement like this. Such an important reference point because they got so many people involved. I think that this is different because it's much more, they were on the offense and we're very much on the defense, right? Like this is so reactionary. We are reacting to just this bomb going off and everybody sort of collectively looking up from our research and saying, oh my God, are we going to be able to keep doing this? Like, I think we all sort of took for granted that like America, at a bipartisan level, like was really into our science. Like we were really into the scientific community and the Institute of American Science and the benefits that we, bring to the world.
Yes.
And so for that to be questioned, I think is and to be questioned so rapidly and so, just intensely. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
white hot fire right now. And so yeah, I mean, that was certainly the impetus. I mean, we're on the defense, and I think we all have an understanding of like what's at stake here.
Yes.
Um, in terms of like our why, like our broader why behind it, I mean, we deeply believe that science is for everyone. And it's not just that like if you've used the internet today, you've benefited from technology that was developed
Yeah.
by through NSF funding, or the fact that like if you have ever looked outside and seen a bird and like known what the name was, or if you brushed your teeth this morning, or if you drove in a car or you used a computer or you saw a doctor or you took a medication, like you've benefited from American science and the funding institutes of American science. It's not just that, it's also that science, like empirically, it's
Yeah.
better when we have a more diverse collection of scientists doing it. And
Absolutely.
when we have more diverse participant pools, when we have like that is so important. And I mean, I can rattle off five different very tangible reasons why it's important.
Yeah. No, I
Like
mean, like we don't have to like, yeah, this is reason one, reason two, reason three, but like I think absolutely, as everyday people see different things happening in their life, they should know that this is because of science, because we
yeah,
have come to this point that through discoveries, through clinical trials, we have drugs, which prevent diseases. We have vaccines, we have, everything you can think of, and longevity and like good health and things like that through science. So this administration unfortunately has been very hostile toward a lot of things, and
Yeah.
science is one of the things which like getting anti-science movement on the rise in the West, and mostly in the very environment where people never expected that, like, oh, West is the West because of science, right? Because of the
Yeah, because of our progress, right?
R&D. Yeah. And they saw that like, oh, we proudly see that, yes, we have made this much progress. But as you know, recently the whole Gaza situation in Palestine, and students were marching around campuses and protesting against the war and all that kind of stuff. And then this administration was saying like, yes, these people should be expelled. These people should be,
Yeah.
sent back to home. So, for example, I'm just kind of curious to see, from a legal standpoint, you have a lot of support, a lot of international
Yeah.
students might be part of that. What does it mean for them, and what is it? Does it have any legal ramifications for people who could participate in this march?
Yeah, that's such a good question. So I will tell you that we are actively in communication with the ACLU state protest, like the state leads for every site lead will be connecting with the National Guild of Lawyers to make sure that we have legal observers on site at every single demonstration point. We are also ensuring that the a proper, permits are filed. We're doing everything above board in terms of like what, if you're going to plan a protest, right? Like, is it legal? Like, we're working through all of those logistics. So first and foremost, this is above board. If we don't have a permit on file, it's because the state told us we didn't need to have one. But we have contacted, and informed the state that that would be happening. So all of that to say, at that level, we're really trying to cover our bases. I think it does get a little bit trickier as you sort of move into the weeds of like peaceful protest and who bears the burden of any sort of infraction. I'm using quote marks to say, at a protest, and it does often tend to be people of color.
Mm.
And I think that like we're really aware of that. It has been a theme in our conversations. It's something we take really seriously. And I mean, we are just actively seeking legal advice to figure out how we can do this in like the safest, most above board manner. If it's up to me, I want all of these protests to be something that I would feel comfortable bringing my son to. Um, and so that's sort of the standard in my mind, and we're really working towards that standard.
Yeah, because I just want to like ask that, because there are some
Yeah,
quite
absolutely.
reasoned
It's a good question.
concerns among international students, because U.S. has a huge PhD student population, as well as postdocs or early career researchers, maybe at certain institutions where even they are not tenured, or
Mhm.
places like that. And since this march is mostly driven by early career and PhD students and postdocs with the support of a lot of other scientists, which is great. But just to kind of get that out to see people who will be watching this, to see like, oh, okay, there is like kind of they have thought about it, and there are.
Yeah, we are really trying to make sure that this is a safe space for people to, be be united in
Yes.
our just, love and support and appreciation of
Yeah.
science in the US. And I mean, I think there's also something to be said about the fact that the scientific community in the United States simply would not be able to function without international students.
Mhm.
And so, although this is a stand up for science in America right
Yeah.
now, protest, like we really, really, really mean it when we say that all are welcome and science is for everyone. And
Yeah.
international students are among the people who we feel strongly like belong here. Like, and American science as an institution so benefits from international students. And so I hope that it's a safe place for people to join with us in that way. And I also understand if people are just like, it's not worth the risk for me in this political climate. And there are
Yeah.
lots of ways that they can support otherwise. So I see both sides of that coin
Yeah.
for sure.
Awesome. So, for you or for other early career scholars and for the volunteers, as you said, you have an army of volunteers and you're grateful to them. So, how much work it is for you guys? I cannot fathom honestly because I
Oh
did my
God.
PhD in 2022. And as a PhD student, you so much locked into your lab, your research, you're finding a
Yeah.
job, finding a dissertation, or focusing on a family. You don't
Mhm.
see as a bigger picture, like getting together in Washington, D.C. within this climate. So, how much work is it for you guys?
Yeah, this is a full-time job.
Yes.
I will tell you that I knew when I said, you know what, let's do this thing, that it was going to be really intense. I
Mhm.
didn't understand the flavor of the intensity, and I also just didn't understand like how many moving parts would be moving. So I feel like we're sort of I personally feel like I am barely sort of treading water, but I'm treading water.
Yeah.
And like I said, like I mean, I have the most incredible team on this project, like the most incredible
Yeah.
team. There is not a better team in the whole wide world to be trying to pull this off. And so, I mean, yeah, we're pulling it off, but it is
Yes.
really
It's
intense.
happening.
Yeah,
It's
it's
happening.
happening, but
Yes.
oh my
Yes.
gosh, it is intense.
Yeah. So, and I think for the scientific perspective or scientist community know
Yeah.
why the science is under attack and why this rhetoric is being spewed on them or overall in this environment. But for the lay people, for common people, it's not quite clear why it is important and why, for example, it's not important, kind of having such an environment when the government officials are attacking in the broad daylight through media, through social media, through every possible communication channel,
Yeah.
telling people, yes, we did give you funding for this, but we didn't give you funding for gender equity, like kind of using this rhetoric. So, just kind of get your thoughts on why you think science is under attack as a bigger picture and what does it mean for scientific exploration?
Yeah. Well, I think that this is a complex question to answer. The short answer is that I think that there was before COVID, I mean, COVID is definitely a like red line that we crossed that we can't go back, right? Like that was such a deciding
Deciding.
moment in science. And I mean, obviously across the world, right? But especially in science. And I think that before COVID, there was this like underlying seeds of distrust towards science in the medical community.
Yes.
But I think that COVID really poured water and fertilizer on those seeds and allowed this distrust to grow and really like flourish. And at the same time, frankly, I think we as scientists have dropped the ball on good quality scientific communication. I think that we have closed the door to the public and people understand that their tax dollars fund what we
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
And then they don't get to that we have not really taken on the responsibility of really informing the public, like, hey, this is what your tax dollars have done, and explicitly spelling it out for people. How can we expect people to have really, thorough understanding of how the funding agencies work if we
Yes.
don't tell
No, no.
them?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think that part of the onus is on us. Like, I think that
Yeah.
it goes both ways,
Both
right?
ways.
And I do think then you have this other piece of, part of this administration's driving force is this really like religious, like fundamentalist, Christian viewpoint. And I mean, I think that there is certainly room for religion in science, but there is sort of this fundamental patriarchal and racist, like it's not even an undertone, it's an over like it's a part, it's not a bug, it's a feature, right? Of that way of thinking. And I think that that sort of colors and really drives, I mean, it's driving this.
Yeah.
It's racism and it's sexism.
Yeah. So, so the last part of the question was like, what does it mean for the
Yeah.
scientific exploration, how much it would affect. I think scientists are very much aware, as you said, in 2017.
Yeah, but for
Right?
lay people,
They were,
yeah.
yes, they were like very forward thinking. This like, yeah, we can see it's gonna get bad, but
Mhm.
now the real kind of it's happening on the ground, and it has happened that it paused the funding. It kind of no
Mhm.
communication, but like thanks to those codes which are restoring some of the communication, some of the funds which gonna go to those scientific exploration. So my question was like, what does it mean for the scientific
Yeah.
exploration?
Yeah, I mean the first thing is that it really puts science and scientists in a box.
Mhm.
So that's the first thing, right? That for example, there was that list going around of words that would be flagged in grants in the titles and the abstracts, of when we ask for money, words that would be flagged. And one example of a few examples, woman, female, bias.
Yeah.
And I can't even describe a sample of people without using those words.
Yeah.
So if I can't describe my sample,
Sample, yeah. Who are
like,
you
you know
gonna
what I'm
study?
saying?
Yes, yeah.
And yeah, like it's not just this like I'm going to use air quotes here. All of these people studying cricket mating behavior for no reason, like
Yeah,
these like quote unquote ridiculous areas of science. It's that I study addiction. Like
yeah.
I study something that we all know somebody who has a problem
That's a
with a
problem. Yes,
substance.
yeah.
And my studies would get flagged. And so that's what this is. That's
Mm.
it's censorship. And
Yeah,
it means that, yes, it is sure, whatever. You target these people who are studying things that you as a layperson don't understand the importance of.
mm,
And, maybe the onus is on that scientist to explain, like, hey, this is why this is important. It's important for us to know this. Or maybe it's this, a quote unquote woke ideology or, this like sex and gender conversation that we're having and gender identity, and people don't have a good understanding or have this really, strong bias against
mm.
just asking questions. Like that's what we
Yeah.
do. We ask questions. We're just people who ask questions.
First
And
question,
like
yes.
we're not here making millions of dollars. Like
No,
scientists
no.
don't do
They
this
don't
for the
even
money.
know that, like, if, like, for example, if you get, a state funding or a federal funding, 55% of go off of the uh,
Yeah.
amount
There's,
back to them, like the institution or that,
yeah.
just like a 45, rest which you kind of work. And then even like there are others. So they don't know if like you get a $3 million and it's like, oh, wow, $3 million for one person to do this research is too much. So I think
Yeah.
it's a lack of understanding how the system works
Mhm.
and like kind of blindly not even trying to study how does it work and just blindly
Yes.
questioning or following the lead what this discourse or the narrative is coming out from DC or from other many
Yeah, I agree.
institutions in the US right now. So we'll leave it there. Thank you so much I for your time. Appreciate that.